reading Genesis 19, meditating on it for the past couple weeks, I got to tell you, there's not hardly any passages in the Bible that are so depressing as this. There's hardly anything good that can be said of what came out of Sodom and Gomorrah. We see that God remembered Abraham, heard his cry. We see that God was merciful and showed grace unto Lot, and for that we can rejoice. There's a lot of wicked things that happen in this chapter. We see the fruit of a lascivious lifestyle. We see the fruit of selfishness, perversion, doing whatever feels good to yourself, drunkenness. We see the fruit of raising a family in a wicked culture, in a wicked generation, not rebuking it, not warning them, not teaching them otherwise. There's often times I've wondered if Lot hated his family. If Lot hated the people around him, not for their transgression, but hated the people around him so much so that he didn't open his mouth and preach the gospel. That when he did finally preach the gospel, they said, this guy's mocking us, preaching of God. There's not a lot pleasant in this chapter, but God put it here for a reason. There's lessons we need to learn from this. There's a warning that we need to see here. In Genesis 19, look at verse number 13. For we will destroy this place, because the cry of them is waxing great before the face of the Lord, and the Lord hath sent us to destroy it. God hears the cry of the innocent. God hears the cry of those that are being hurt and abused in this city. And He says, I'm going to send a few innocent people in and see what happens if they try to abuse them and take advantage of them. Go to verse 17. Genesis 19, verse 17. And it came to pass, when they had brought them forth abroad, He said, escape for thy life, look not behind thee, neither stay thou in the plain. Escape to the mountain, lest thou be consumed. What's God's message today in this wicked culture? He says, escape, get out of it, get away from it. Don't go near it, don't pass by it, don't be friends with it, get away from it. Escape for thy life, escape to the mountain. This passage is about this one thing, escape from Sodom and Gomorrah, get out. It blows my mind that Lot even ended up here. It hurts my heart to read these things and see what happened to his family. He lost his wife. He lost his children. It's possible, if you look at the timeline of everything, it was Genesis 12 that we see when Abraham was 75. At this time, he was about 99. You got almost 25 years there. It's entirely possible that Lot's grown children, now in the Bible times, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, you're marrying off. And there was an entire possibility here that all of his children were born in Sodom. It's possible that Lot even got his wife from Sodom. There's no mention of Lot's wife until we get here. He didn't have a wife when he was with Abraham. It was all him in his tent. But now all of a sudden he has a wife, he has children, and he loses their hearts, he loses their lives in this really terrible story. There's lessons to be learned here. These things need to sink into our brains. They need to go down into our heart. This is a warning from God. America is fast becoming worse than Sodom and Gomorrah. It's all around us. Other countries have banned the latest Disney movie. Other wicked countries, Muslim countries and what have you, they have said America is the Satan and the Hollywood and the Disney that they're pumping around the world is of the devil. They've figured it out and Americans can't seem to figure it out. Oh, it's just Disney. They're cute. We always watch Disney. And I've grown up in Baptist churches the majority of my life, and some Baptist churches were aware of this, and they did not allow Disney. They preached against it, and amen, thank God for them. I've always known Disney. There's something wrong with it. Disney himself worked for secret societies and secret government agencies, and there's all these weird stories of wizardry, and there's something wrong at the core. It shouldn't be a no-brainer, but in many churches, even independent, fundamental, Bible-believing Baptist churches, it's like been the secret sin. Oh, we don't believe in the theater, but hey, a little Disney. I got all the Disney movies. Really? Really? They dress the women inappropriately. Everything's the adventure starts when you leave your parents. What are you training your children with? America has become, I believe, getting worse and worse, almost to the point of being worse than Sodom and Gomorrah. It's sad, it's weird, because All of the Disney movies are anti-family. This is what that pride message is all about. The pride message is, we hate your family. We want your children. They say it publicly. We want to take your little children. We want to defile their minds. We want to pervert them and pollute them and make them one of us. And they don't reproduce. You think about this. Every person here and out there came from a man and a woman. Right. Everyone. It's a natural thing. A man and a woman. And you know what? That's what they're attacking. That's what they're against. Everything that God has created. If the foundations be destroyed, what can the righteous do? What can we do? I'll tell you what we can do. We can open our mouths. We can preach the gospel. We can flee from Sodom. We can flee for our lives. We can escape for our life and get away from the wickedness and know when to turn your children. We're not going to live there. We're not going to be there. We're not going to go into that. I had a lady yesterday trying to tell me, oh, you should come on down to the art district. You can bring your children and they're really great. Oh, tell me about your children. Oh, she doesn't have any. Oh, go figure. But she wants me to bring my children and look at their filthy artwork. Go figure. Before we go through the chapter, I want to look at the people of this story. God knows what's going on. He knows it all. He sends 2 eyewitnesses in. I was talking to Brother Doug. What are the name of the 2 angels? It doesn't tell us. We could theorize. One's Apollyon. Okay, never mind. We won't go there. All right. Anyway. He sends 2 angels in the appearance of men. They look like men, they act like men, they talk like men, they eat. In the previous chapter with Abraham, as far as you can tell, these are men. They're just human beings. He sends 2 brand new men in. The guys in the city have never seen them, as an eyewitness of how they're being treated. God has a lot to say about Sodom and Gomorrah, and I want you to, we're not going to talk so much about the angels or God's perspective. We'll see that in context. But I want to look at Abraham's perspective. I want you to think about Abraham's perspective in all this. Flip back to Genesis 14:14. I'm going to go quickly, so stay with me. Genesis 14:14. And when Abraham heard that his brother was taken captive, he armed his trained servants, born in his own house, 318, and pursued them unto Dan. Boy, he wanted to save souls. He had a heart for other people. He still loved Lot. He didn't want Lot down there. He didn't want to be down there, but he wanted to get him out of there, and he did it and he also kept himself separate from the filthiness of Sodom. Look at verse 22. Genesis 14, verse 22. And Abraham said unto the king of Sodom, I have lifted up mine hand unto the Lord, the Most High God, the possessor of heaven and earth. Now that's talking about where in verse 18 he met Melchizedek, who brought him basically the Lord's Supper. He saw that. He talked to him. He says, I've lifted up my Lord, right? Look, my hand unto the Lord, verse 23, that I will not take from a thread, even to a shoe latchet, and that I will not take anything that is thine, lest thou shouldest say, I have made Abram rich. He says, I don't want anybody from Sodom and Gomorrah and Admah and Zeboim and Zoar or Bela. I don't want anybody from these cities to say, we made Abram rich when we gave him stuff. He says, no, you're not going to make me rich. If I'm rich, it's because of God. I'm separate from them. He had a heart for the souls, though. He went in and saved a bunch of lives, even those maybe he would have let go. He could have been right in letting go, but no, he saved all the lives that he could. He was after Lot, really. He had a heart to save, but he kept himself sanctified. Go to chapter 18. Genesis chapter 18. Look at verse number 23. And Abraham drew near and said, wilt thou also destroy the righteous with the wicked? Here again, he's got a heart for the souls, right? He wants to, wait, there's good people in there. I know Lot's in there. I know he's saved. He's got a family. Oh, please, Lord, don't destroy Lot. But notice what he says in this statement. He's calling Lot righteous, but what does he call Sodom in this verse? What's the last word in the verse? Wicked. Lot's calling them what they are. Lord, I know they're wicked. I know they deserve your judgment. Go back to chapter 19. Let's look at how God remembered him. Genesis 19, look at verse number 27. And Abraham got up early in the morning. Boy, now there's a pattern we can follow, right? Brother Ross's sermon recently on that was great. Get up early in the morning and do what? To the place where he stood before the Lord. Do you have a place and a purpose and a time that you get up early to meet with the Lord? If not, work on that. Abraham was a great leader because of that. He says in verse 28, and he looked toward Sodom and Gomorrah and toward all the land of the plain, and behold, and lo, the smoke of the country went up as the smoke of a furnace. And it came to pass, when God destroyed the cities of the plain, that God remembered Abraham and sent out Lot out of the midst of the overthrow, when he overthrew the cities in which Lot dwelt. God destroyed them all, and he remembered Abraham. He spared Lot. He tried to spare the righteous as best as he could. Let's go back and look at Lot. Actually, go to 2 Peter 2. Let's take a look at a couple New Testament things. This is important because we know the New Testament shines so much light on the Old Testament. It's God's way of helping us to interpret and understand certain things. You know, we're not as privy as some of those that were in the culture and the history of that time. We're so far displaced from it. God gives us great New Testament insight, especially in the books of Hebrew, James, Peter. And so let's look at something in Peter here. You're in 2 Peter chapter 2. Let's look at verse number 6. And turning the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah into ashes, condemned them. Right? He condemned them. Them with an overthrow, making them an ensample unto those that after should live ungodly. God said, I'm going to give you an illustration that you can understand. I'm going to bring fire down and destroy these people as an example of the punishment that we deserve for our sins. Every one of us deserves to burn in hell for our sins. That's a fact. If you don't think you deserve hell, then you need to get your heart right with God. You need to humble yourself before the Lord. And he says, this is an example of what you deserve. If you want to live ungodly, here's the punishment you deserve. Verse number 7. And delivered just Lot, vexed with the filthy conversation of the wicked. When it says just Lot, that doesn't mean only Lot. It means justified Lot. Lot was saved by faith in the promises that God made. This is a saved man. This is what the Bible's saying. Understand this as we go through this and we look at the characters of this story before we read the whole story. Lot was saved. That's what the Bible's saying, but he was vexed. It's like a curse was on his soul because he was surrounded with pure evil. Verse 8, for that righteous man, see, he's saved, dwelling among them in seeing and hearing, vexed his righteous soul from day to day with their unlawful deeds. I got to tell you, when people get vexed, they'll do crazy things. They'll do unreasonable things. When people are vexed, that's why people commit suicide. That's why people run into traffic and do all sorts of unreasonable, ungodly things. He's saved. We're going to see him in heaven. But some of the actions that he did really doesn't make sense. Now I want you to understand, he was spiritually oppressed. He was vexed by their wicked lifestyle. That's what it means, the filthy conversation. The conversation isn't just what they say, it's their walk and their talk. The conversation is what is said of you. How are you living? What is your reputation? He says in verse 9, the Lord knoweth how to deliver the godly out of temptation. That's an important verse. We're going to see that God delivers him. And to reserve the unjust unto the day of judgment to be punished. And that's, again, a picture of what's about to happen. Verse 10, but chiefly them that walk after the flesh in the lust of uncleanness. If that's not underlined in your Bible, you might want to underline it. What was wrong with Sodom? They lusted after uncleanness. Look, I know all of you guys are real straight-laced Baptists in here, and if I put a chocolate cake in front of you, you've got such self-control you wouldn't desire that chocolate cake. I know I'm talking to the Wednesday night crowd here. We're all above that. Oh, that chocolate looks pretty good. All right, I might have just one little slice. Is it gluten-free? Oh, it's gluten-free. I can eat as much as I want, right? But now if I went down into the sewer and I pulled up a bowl full of sewage, of sludge, I don't have to say the words, you understand what I'm getting at, and I put it here, you're not going to lust after that filthiness. That's not natural to say, ooh, what's in the sewer today to eat? Hey, you're not throwing that, let's dig into the trash and find something to eat. That's not right, that's not normal. These people lusted after uncleanness. They were defiling themselves and sinning against themselves. They were abusing their own selves because they could not contain their wicked, perverse lust. Then they got proud of it. If that's not underlined, you ought to underline it. Verse 10, chiefly them that walk after the flesh in the lust of uncleanness and despise government. And that word government, in a sense, doesn't mean like Republican, Democrat. Somehow, God's administration. They hate any authority. They don't want to be ruled over. They don't want any laws. They want to do whatever they want. What would it be like if there were no laws? Well, go to Sodom and Gomorrah and you can find out. There was nobody there to say, oh, well, we have an age to do this, or you can't take something that belongs to somebody, or how dare you hurt an innocent person. No laws like that were in existence. They were doing whatever they wanted. It was like Satanism at the core. But chiefly them that walk after the flesh and the lust of uncleanness and despise government, presumptuous are they, self-willed. They are not afraid to speak evil of dignities. Again, speaking of God's judges. Whereas angels, which are greater in power and might, bring not railing accusation against them before the Lord, but these, Sodomites, as natural brute beasts, made to be taken and destroyed, speak evil of the things that they understand not, and shall utterly perish in their own corruption. They're corrupting their own body. They're going to get their own reward upon them. Romans 1, all over. We're not even going there today. But God says, hey, they're going to get what they deserve. They're speaking evil of godly things and they don't even understand it. Verse 13. And shall receive the reward of unrighteousness, as they that count it pleasure to riot in the daytime. Spots are they, and blemishes, sporting themselves with their own deceivings while they feast with you. They want to party in the daytime. They want to sleep around and get drunk in the daytime instead of going to work, instead of being righteous with their time and their mind and their life. Verse 14, having eyes full of adultery. Oh, hey, whose wife is that? Doesn't matter, I'll take it, right? Look, and that cannot cease from sin. They couldn't stop if they wanted to. Beguiling unstable souls. Now, this word beguiling means to trick or to deceive. The devil, it said, beguiled Eve. He lied, he deceived, he used smooth words, he tempted, he tricked her, right? Beguiling unstable souls. You know what an unstable soul is? Let's start with a young person. Let's start with an unexperienced person or a simple person or somebody that's ignorant. We're we're adults, we're not unstable, but there are things we're ignorant of, and maybe, oh, you might trick me. Oh, here, can I get change for that 20? Hold on, let me get change for that. Here, let me give you a 10. Hold on, do you have the 20? Do you have the, I don't know. And you walk away and you're like, what just happened? Did I just lose 20 bucks? This guy made change and I got gypped. What happened? You know, that doesn't mean you're a total fool in life, but this can happen because you're unexperienced. Here, how do you trick an unstable soul? You lie to them, you cheat, you trick them. Hey kid, you want some candy, right? Look at this. This is so important in verse 14. Beguiling unstable souls. This is the characteristics of one of these people. And heart, they have exercise with covetous practices. They want to take what's not theirs. But look at these last words. Cursed children. You know what happens when you hurt a child? And you hurt a child, and you hurt a child, and you raise a child in Sodom and Gomorrah, as Lot was doing, they become Sodomites. Yep. This is the warning. They want to beguile them and put their own curse on them. They want to curse that child's future. Go back to Genesis 19. Actually, go to Genesis 13 instead. This is the warning of the type of people that are in this city. God gives us the New Testament, written by the Holy Spirit. Holy men of God spake as they were moved by the Holy Ghost. God wrote this down. He wants us to know it. What type of people? Oh, they're all about love. They just want to be accepted. No, they don't. They want to be above you. They want to be better than you. They want you to submit to them. Genesis 13, look at verse 12. And Abram dwelt in the land of Canaan, and Lot dwelled in the cities of the plain and pitched his tent towards Sodom. They split. What happened first? Lot says, ooh, look at the well-watered plain of Sodom and Gomorrah. That reminds me of Egypt. I like. Now it's saying he pitches his tent. He picks a spot, and then, you know, when you open your front door, that's what you see. That's what you focus on. He starts looking at it and dwelling on it. Go to chapter 14, verse 12. Chapter 14, verse 12. And they took Lot, Abram's brother, who dwelt in Sodom, and his goods, and departed. First he looks, then he puts his tent pitched that way. Now he's dwelling there. If you would, now go to chapter 19. Let's see where we find Lot when the angels show up. What happened over these 25 years? What happened? Well, he got very prominent in business. Verse 1, Genesis 19:1, and there came two angels unto Sodom and even, And Lot sat in the gate. That means that's a place of authority, by the way. He doesn't have to work daily. He has people working for him. Lot sat in the gate of Sodom, and Lot, seeing them, rose up to meet them and bowed himself with his face toward the ground. Now, wait a minute. This guy goes from, wow, that place reminds me of Egypt. I liked Egypt. To, I'm going to get closer at it and dwell on it. To all of a sudden now he's living there, and to the point he got kidnapped, and then now he's in charge. He's one of the rulers. He's like an elder of Sodom. He's that prominent. They probably came to him for judgments. In fact, look at verse 16. He says, and while he lingered, now wait, while the angels were trying to get him out, he's lingering. Imagine this. Guys, there's a fire in the kitchen, and it's really big. It's going to destroy the whole building. If we don't hurry up and get out of here, we're all probably going to die a horrible death. And you say, oh, thank you, Pastor Fannin. Let me just get my stuff together. Where was my phone? Did I have a water? No. There's a fire! Go! Run! Get out! What's he doing? He's lingering. He's piddling around. He's moving stuff. Oh, but this treasure I've obtained since I want to take this, and I got to fill up my backpack, and oh, let's load up this box. Oh, we got the treasure chest. Don't forget that. He's lingering in Sodom. Well, it's about to burn. His heart was completely stolen. Lot's the focus of this story, really the city and Lot's reaction and how God saves him. What about Lot's wife? Go to Luke chapter 17. Again, I think it's possible he got his wife in the city. It's possible he married a Sodomite. The Bible doesn't clearly say that. Maybe he had her earlier. Maybe he got her somewhere else. Either way, he raised his children in the city to marry Sodomites and become, well, Sodomites. Luke chapter 17, if you would, find verse number 28. Likewise also as it was in the days of Lot, they did eat, they drank, they bought, they sold, they planted and builded. Hey, we're doing everything we want to do. Jesus is saying in the end times, before he comes back, even when the Antichrist is present and he's persecuting Christians, people will eat and drink. What are you guys doing for dinner tonight? And Jesus is coming back that day. Oh, you know what? I got to start a new building project. I'm going to put some seed in the ground so that we can eat something. And Jesus is coming back. The Antichrist, think about this, what he's saying here. They planted, they builded, verse 29, but the same day that Lot went out of Sodom, it rained fire and brimstone from heaven and destroyed them all. Wow, what a warning. Even thus shall it be in the day when the Son of Man is revealed. In that day, which he shall be upon the housetop and his stuff in the house, let him not come down to take it away, and he that is in the field, let him likewise not return back. Now here's Lot. What was he doing? Lot is lingering. He's piddling around in the house. Oh, you're going to destroy the city today? Oh, okay. Let me get my stuff. Oh, okay. Yeah, I heard you. It's soon. I know. Let me get the rest of my stuff. Well, let me set my house in order. Hold on. I got to lock my closet so nobody gets my firearms while we're gone. It's like, what are you thinking, man? Don't go back into the house. Don't go back to, if you're in the field already, don't go back into the house. And he's trying to get him out. He's lingering. His heart, I mean, we see that he's vexed. I think he's just not right in his mind. Spiritually, he's oppressed. He's saved, but he's living wrong. He's acting wrong. He says in verse 32, this is key. Remember Lot's wife. When Jesus tells you to remember something, we need to remember it. Yeah. This is a big deal. That's a short verse. Remember Lot's wife. Okay, God, what do you want us to remember about her? Verse 33, whosoever shall seek to save his life shall lose it, and whosoever shall lose his life shall preserve it. He's saying, serve me now with all that you've got. Don't be worried about building your house and building your kingdom. You work for Christ and you will gain eternal treasure. Remember Lot's wife, she looked back. In fact, go to chapter 19 again. Go back to Genesis 19. Genesis 19, find verse number 26. What do we remember about her? Her heart was still in Sodom and Gomorrah. Verse 26, but his wife looked back from behind him, and she became a pillar of salt. I have to blame him in this. Come on, family, we have to go. The angel just drug us out of the city. It's about to burn. Hold your wife's hand. Keep her hand, keep her heart, keep her with you. Notice what he says. The wife looked back from behind him. She was gone and he didn't even know it. And I think that was her state all along. He probably never had her heart. He didn't care enough. Where was she? This is the first we see of her. And he's lost her. She's turned into a pillar of salt. I don't think that means she just miraculously turned into a stone. Where Sodom and Gomorrah, Admah, Zeboam, those cities of the plain, as they've discovered them, they know right where they're at. The Bible told us earlier, I think it was in chapter 14, it told us that they were in the Salt Sea, or the Dead Sea. They know right where it's at. And there's little balls of sulfur that have come down. You see a whole layer of remnants where it's like, clearly something happened. It destroyed everything living and all the houses and all the people. Everything's charred and decimated just that quick. When it says she turned into a pillar, I think, opinion, like a ball of fire of sulfur just hit her head, and it was coming so hard, so fast, so hot, it just burned all the way through her and she was turned into a crisp. I don't think she just like paused and turned into a statue. I think she was turned into a burnt crisp just that quick when she turned back as she sinned. What about Lot's children? Look at verse 12. How many children did Lot have? Because if you remember, Abraham had pleaded to God, if there's just 10 righteous, will you save the whole city? What if there's 1,000 in the city? Will you save it for 10? God said, yeah, I'll save it for 10. Couldn't find 10. Verse 12. And the men of the Lot said, hast thou here any besides? Now these are the angels. They know everything there is to know about him. Son-in-law, thy sons. Apparently he had sons, plural. That's at least 2. Let's do the math. And thy daughters, there was 2 present in the house. Jump down to verse 14. And Lot went out and spake unto his sons-in-law, which married his daughters. He had 2 other daughters, 4 daughters total, which meant he had 2 sons-in-laws and 2 sons. Lot and his wife, if Lot would have only opened his mouth and got his family saved, he could have preserved the whole city. Think about that. But he failed. It makes me wonder, did he hate his family? Or did he just love riches so much that that's the result, that it appears like he hated his family? What about Lot's daughters? 4 daughters. 2 were already married to Sodomites. 2 were virgins, and we're going to see a very strange thing in this story where he goes to give them up. And then because they've been raised in Sodom, their heart and their mind is not right about how human relationships should be. And they're defiled. Well, what about the Sodomites, you say? I'm glad you asked. Go to Ezekiel 16. I promise we'll start the chapter here in a minute. I know it's going long, but it won't be quick once we get started. Ezekiel chapter 16. God tells us exactly why he destroyed it. And I want you to know, some people say, oh, it's just because they didn't feed the poor. They got a little puffed up because they were doing financially well, and that's the only reason. That's not what this says. People will point to this and ignore the obvious. Verse 49 and 50. Ezekiel 16, verse 49 and 50. Behold, this was the iniquity of thy sister Sodom. By the way, when it says thy sister, it's talking about Jerusalem's sister. Your mother was a Hittite, right? I mean, they're all related. Even we see in the end times that it refers to Mystery Babylon, which I believe is earthly Jerusalem, as being like Sodom. It's compared to Sodom. He says, behold, this was the iniquity of thy sister Sodom. Pride. Boy, it's Pride Month everywhere, isn't it? We're proud of who we are, and when they say pride, they say we're proud against God. We want to put our sin in God's face. You can't tell us no. God can't tell us otherwise. We'll do what we want. Okay, feel free to do what you want in your area of the city or in your house, but why is it that group has such a high rate of suicide? And I'm not wishing death on any of them. Rather, God doesn't rejoice at the death of the wicked, does he? We shouldn't rejoice at the death of the wicked. Now look, when there's a time to execute judgment, you know, in the Old Testament, if somebody came and killed your brother, well, you went and got that person, you killed that man. You know, there's a time for executing judgment, don't get me wrong. But when it comes to that, it's no wonder that their own fruit comes back on them. It's no wonder they are self-destructive. Why? Because they're full of pride against God. He says, here's the sin, look at it. Pride, fullness of bread, they had a ton of food. Abundance of idleness. Everybody was laying around, rioting in the daytime, is what it said. Not doing a thing. was in her and her daughters, neither did she strengthen the hand of the poor and the needy. They didn't help the helpless. In fact, they enslaved them, and they abused them, and they stole their children. Verse 50, and they were haughty, another name for being puffed up in pride, thinking they're better than they are. Verse 50, and they were haughty and committed abomination before me. Unspeakable abominations that they were doing, that God heard the cry of the innocent, and He said, I need to come down here and just destroy this place. He says, therefore, I took them away as I saw good. Go to Matthew 11. Go to Matthew chapter 11. God said they needed to be judged. They were hurting the innocent. The cry was great, and He came into the one righteous man He could find, and He said, flee. He said, escape from Sodom and Gomorrah. He said, escape to the mountain. He said, get out of this place. Get away. Matthew chapter 11, look at verse number 20. This blows my mind. Then began he to upbraid. That means he's like telling them they're wrong, right? Then he began to upbraid the cities wherein most of his mighty works were done, because they repented not. Jesus is verbally rebuking those that saw the miracles and refused to believe on Him. Verse 21, woe unto thee, Chorazin! Woe unto thee, Bethsaida! If the mighty works which were done in you had been done in Tyre and Sidon, they would have repented long ago in sackcloth and ashes. But I say unto you, it shall be more tolerable for Tyre and Sidon at the day of judgment than for you. And thou, Capernaum, which art exalted unto heaven, thou shalt be brought down to hell. For if the mighty works which have been done in thee had been done in Sodom, it would have remained unto this day. God is saying this city where Jesus walked and did miracles, He says they were so wicked. They thought they were as high as heaven, and God says, I'm going to bring you down to hell. The city is full of wicked people that rejected God. Look at verse 24. But I say unto you that it shall be more tolerable for the land of Sodom in the day of judgment than for thee. God says when the people that are in hell from Sodom are brought up to that great white judgment throne, as they're brought out of hell to be cast into the lake of fire, and that final judgment is executed, God says, well, what wicked Sodom has coming is less than wicked Capernaum. He says that there would have been people in Sodom and Gomorrah that would have repented if they saw the works of Jesus. They didn't even have a soul winner in that city. Lot hated them. Go back to Genesis 19. Lot didn't love them enough to preach repentance, to preach salvation, to live righteously. Lot apparently was not known as a believer, a child of God. Genesis 19, look at verse number 1. And there came two angels unto Sodom at even, and Lot sat in the gate at Sodom, and Lot, seeing them, rose up to meet them, and he bowed himself with his face toward the ground. And he said, behold now, my lords, turn in, I pray you, unto your servant's house, and tarry all night, and wash your feet, and ye shall rise up early, and go on your ways. And they said, nay, but we will abide in the street all night. No, we're here to investigate. We want to see what happens in the streets at night. Is it true, the cry that we're hearing, right? Verse 3. And he pressed upon them greatly, grabbing them by the arms and saying, no, you can't, whoa, don't stay in the city. Don't you know what part of Jacksonville you're in? Boy, they will mug you tonight. They will kill you. You got to get in the house, right? Think about it. He pressed upon them greatly, and they turned in unto him, and he entered into his house, and he made them a feast, and did bake unleavened bread, and they did eat. I wonder if that's a picture of the Lord's Supper that we saw in Genesis 14 with Melchizedek. Verse 4, but before they lay down, the men of the city, even the men of Sodom, compassed the house round, both old and young, all the people from every corner. I want you to understand what this just said. It's a standalone house. They got word, oh, there's two new men that came into town that we don't know who they are. Now, an angel, the Lord probably made them kind of perfect looking. A good looking guy comes in. Two guys show up. They're where? At Lot's house? Let's go get them. The whole city comes together and surrounds this house. Now think about this. He says, old and young. How young is young? Young enough to do something malicious to a human being. I don't know what age this is. The Bible doesn't tell us. What is the fruit of raising children always looking, hearing and looking and seeing their filthy deeds? They turn around and do those same deeds to other people. This is why I've heard stories of people that would adopt a child that was abused by somebody else, and then they would find that child trying to abuse one of their children. Be careful who you let in your house. Keep your eyes on your children. We're a family integrated church because I don't want somebody taking your children into another room and teaching them anything or exposing them to anything. We should keep our eyes on our own children. It's our job. It's our responsibility. There have been too many people, life's going normal, somebody gets their hands on them, does something, says something, shows something, and ruins their mind, and the person is just not right for a while. And this is the warning. Here we see the young coming to the house to kidnap and abuse these strangers? This is bizarre. Verse 5, and they called unto Lot and said unto him, where are the men which came in unto thee this night? Bring them out unto us that we may know them. They're not talking about catching up and finding out what they like in life or what's your goals in life. That's not what it means. When it says know them, it's talking about just like it did in Genesis 4 when Adam knew Eve and she bare a child, right? It's the same thing. Like knowing carnally, as into let me see everything, let me know everything, let me know everything there is to know about you. What a wicked statement. Verse 6. And Lot went out at the door unto them and shut the door after him. Now, this is weird. They're surrounding the house, and he's like, hold on, I'll be right back, guys. You stay here. And he goes and hey, guys. Because remember, Lot is here, I believe, for business reasons. He was doing pretty prosperous on the hill looking. He got closer, and all of a sudden he's making business contacts. Boy, if he could just get in the city, next thing you know, he'd be in the gate, and then he's set for life. He could have all of his dreams come true. He could be as rich as he ever wanted to be if he made these deals, right? Might cost him a child or two. Hey, it's just a business marriage, not my problem. Lot made some wicked sacrifices. He closes the door and comes out to talk to him. Hey, buddies, how you doing? Look what he says. And he said, I pray you, brethren, verse 7, I pray you, brethren, do not so wickedly. Brethren? Brethren? Hold on. It's not spiritual brethren because they're not saved and he is. It's not physical brethren because they're of a different lineage than he is. Oh, hey, what's up, brother? Come on, buddy. Hey, it's kind of like a gang would say it. They don't mean anything by it except what works for them. Hey, buddy, come on. Don't be an evil person. Evil? You're going to call me evil all of a sudden? Look at their response here. Verse 8, behold now, I have 2 daughters which have not known man. That means they're virgins. Let me, I pray you, bring them out unto you, and do ye to them as is good in your eyes. Only unto these men do nothing, for therefore they came under the shadow of my roof. Oh, they're here, I'm protecting them. Now this, still another thing. It grieves me to meditate on this chapter. Job is saved. He has 4 daughters. 2 he's married off to Sodomites. He lost them. They died. They were scorched. He had 2 left that had never known a man. They were pure, at least in their flesh, maybe not in their minds. There was a problem in their heart. But he says, you're wicked. Notice Abraham called him wicked in the last chapter. Lot calls him wicked. Do not so wickedly. Here, take my daughters and do whatever you think is good. Hold on, how do you juxtapose that? He just said you're wicked. Now take these innocent young ladies and do what you think is good? They can't discern good, was his point. You're wicked. How do you know what good is? Take them and do whatever you want. If you know Judges 19, a parallel concept, if you will, Genesis 19, Judges 19, it warns us about those where they take a young woman, they're after the man, and they take a young woman and they abuse her unto death. What do you think Lot was doing when he's sending out innocent children to a riotous crowd who had a lust for uncleanness? What do you think the result is going to be? Where's Lot's head? Where's his heart? Hey guys, leave us alone. Don't destroy the house and kill everybody. We can still do business tomorrow. Go away and leave us alone. Tell you what, take my daughters. This grieves me. Do ye to them as is good in your eyes. There is no good in their eyes. Verse 9. And he said, and they said, here's the Sodomites, stand back. And they said again, this one fellow came in to sojourn, and he will needs be a judge. Yeah, he's standing in the gate. He is a judge. But all of a sudden they're saying, what, are you going to judge us and tell us what's good and evil all of a sudden? Oh, now you're going to tell us not to live like that? We've been doing it forever, even before you got here, and you're going to tell us to stop? He says, and he will needs be a judge. Now will we deal worse with thee than with them. And they pressed sore upon the man, even Lot, and came near to break the door. They're pushing him through. They're about to push through the whole house. Remember, he pressed the angels in? Now the whole crowd's about to press through Lot. They said, we're going to do worse to you than we were going to do to those two men? They're talking about killing him, murdering him. Verse 10, but the men put forth, now these are the angels, the men put forth their hand and pulled Lot into the house to them and shut the door, and they smote the men that were at the door of the house with blindness, both small and great, so that they wearied themselves to find the door. The children, the small and young, it says, the great and the old, the whole crowd, he says, and the Lord smite them, make them all blind. They'll go away, right? Well, they didn't. So that they wearied themselves to find the door. Do you hear that in verse number 11? They've been smitten with blindness, and they're still so bloodthirsty. They have such a bloodlust to hurt the innocent and defile somebody that night, that even though I can no longer see for the rest of my life, if I could just get my hands on them, I would do. What a wicked city. God heard the cry of the innocent that had been hurt and hurt and hurt and hurt, and God says, no, I need to step in. I need to intervene. It's just like Pompeii. Look at verse 12. And the men said unto Lot, these are the angels, hast thou here any besides son-in-law and thy sons and thy daughters, and whatsoever thou hast in the city, bring them out of this place. What other people? Let's get them out of here. Why? Verse 13, for we will destroy this place, because the cry of them is waxing great before the face of the Lord, and the Lord hath sent us to destroy it. And Lot went out and spake unto his sons-in-law, which were married his daughters, and said, up, get you out of this place. So Lot says, hey, get out of here. It's going to catch on fire. He says, up, get you out of this place, for the Lord will destroy this city. But he seemed as one that mocked unto his sons-in-law. Do you know why? This is the first time he ever talked about the Lord. What are you, mocking us? Talking about God? Are you going to come in here and say God's going to destroy us for our lifestyle and destroy the city? This guy's making fun of us. He's mocking us. Get out of here. You've lost your mind. Verse 15, and when the morning arose, wait, this went all through the night. Then the angels hastened Lot, they hurried him up, saying, arise, take thy wife and 2 daughters which are here, lest thou be consumed in the iniquity of the city. And while he lingered, there he is wasting time, the men laid hold upon his hands, and upon the hand of his wife, and upon the hand of his 2 daughters, the Lord being merciful unto him. Boy, there's the one good thing out of this chapter, and that's it. The Lord being merciful. These 2 angels each had one of them by the hand. 2 daughters and 2 adults. The Lord being merciful unto him, and they brought him forth and set him without the city. They got him out. And it came to pass, when they had brought them forth abroad, that he said, escape for thy life, look not behind thee, neither stay thou on the plain. Escape to the mountain, lest thou be consumed. And here's the warning for us today. Don't look at that trash. Don't go near that filth. Escape. Don't look back. Get away from it. Don't think twice about it. Verse 18, and Lot said unto them, oh, not so, my Lord. Behold now, thy servant hath found grace in thy sight, and thou hast magnified thy mercy, which thou hast showed unto me in saving my life, and I cannot escape to the mountain, lest some evil take me and I die. Behold now, this city is near to flee unto. It is a little one. Oh, let me escape thither. Is it not a little one? And my soul shall live. He's begging him. There's 5 cities in the plain. He says, oh, the little one. It's called Bela. They name it Zoar, which means little. He said, let's keep this one city. Don't destroy all 5. Let me go to this one. I can't go to the mountain, which he does anyway. But verse 21, and he said unto him, see, I have accepted thee concerning this thing also, that I will not overthrow this city for the which thou hast spoken. Haste thee, escape thither, for I can do nothing till thou come thither. Therefore the name of the city was called Zoar. The sun was risen up upon the earth when Lot entered Zoar. Then the Lord rained upon Sodom and Gomorrah brimstone and fire from the Lord out of heaven. There's the first mention of the word brimstone and the fire. What's brimstone like? Have you guys ever seen a volcano erupt? Can you imagine lava being hurled up into the heavens and coming down wherever God places it? I think there's some supernatural events happening here. I think God is literally saying fire from heaven and brimstone. It's lava. This area right now is still, there's a volcano down underneath that area. I wouldn't be surprised if in the end times, well, there's prophecy that goes with that I think something's going to happen there, but that's another sermon for another day. Verse 24, then the Lord rained upon Sodom and Gomorrah brimstone and fire like hell from the Lord out of heaven, and he overthrew those cities and all the plain and all the inhabitants of the cities, and that which grew upon the ground. He destroyed all the plants. But his wife looked back from behind him, and she became a pillar of salt. And Abraham got up early in the morning to the place where he stood before the Lord. And he looked towards Sodom and Gomorrah, and all the land of the plain, and behold, the smoke of the country went up as the smoke of a furnace. That whole country was in fire. And it came to pass, when God destroyed the cities of the plain, that God remembered Abraham. He remembered his promise. God doesn't break promises. And God sent Lot out of the midst of the overthrow, when he overthrew the cities in the which Lot dwelt. And Lot went up from Zoar and dwelt in the mountains. See, he went anyway. And his 2 daughters with him, for he feared to dwell in Zoar. He dwelt in a cave, and he and his 2 daughters. Now what happens? He goes to Zoar, he lingers there too. I think he goes to the liquor store in Zoar, and he takes a bottle of wine with his daughters, and he goes up to the mountain. Finally he goes, why? Because they were just like the other 4 cities, and they knew that he was different, and they probably rejected him. He couldn't dwell there for fear, it says. Now we see the wicked perversion, verse 31. And the firstborn said unto the younger, our father is old, and there is not a man on the earth to come in unto us after the manner of all the earth. Come, let us make our father drink wine, and we will lie with him, that we may preserve seed of our father. Now, they didn't have to twist his arm to get drunk. Obviously, that was something he already did. If somebody were to bring in some wine tonight and set it before any of the fathers, every one of us would say, no! Get that out of here. I don't want to see that trash. Get that garbage out of here. You said it in front of Lot. He'd say, well, I don't mind if I do. I'll just have a little bit and then a little bit more and a little bit more. And all of a sudden, he has no idea where he's at or who's doing what to him. How did his daughters learn this? Well, they were raised in Sodom. They were raised as Sodomites to be just like everything they saw around them. Verse 33, and they made their father drink wine that night. And the firstborn went in and lay with her father, and he perceived not when she lay down, nor when she arose. Notice it's the firstborn. I preached a sermon about a year ago now called Why Satan Wants Your Firstborn. The concept's not original with me, but my sermon's original. It's not the same as that other guy's sermon. There's a couple sermons with that same topic. Why does Satan want your firstborn? Because if he can get to Cain, then he can get to Abel. If he can get right here, he made the last daughter he's got, he made. The firstborn went in and lay with her father, and he perceived not when she lay down or when she arose. Listen to me, teenagers and children. Don't touch wine, drugs, alcohol, pills. You be careful. You'll take something. Woo, the room's spinning. This feels good. And next thing you know, you wake up and somebody has done something to you, and you have no idea who it was or what they did or what the results are. You be careful with that stuff. You stay away from it. If anybody plays around and wants to bring it around you, you rebuke them. You run them off. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. He perceived not when she lay down nor when she arose. And it came to pass on the morrow that the firstborn said unto the younger, see, got the firstborn, what's next? Behold, I lay yesternight with my father. Let us make him drink wine. Now, you notice they're drinking too. He's letting his children drink. Let us make him drink wine this night also, and thou go in and lie with him, that we may preserve seed of our father. And they made their father drink wine that night also, and the younger arose and lay with him, and he perceived not when she lay down nor when she arose. Thus were both the daughters of Lot with child by their father. This is shameful. This is incest. This is wrong on so many levels. And the shame of Lot for raising them in that filth, not keeping their hearts, not training them up, allowing alcohol in his house. Verse 37, and he called the firstborn bare a son, and called his name Moab, the same as the father of the Moabites unto this day. And the younger she also bare a son, and called his name Ben-Ammi, the same as the father of the children of Ammon unto this day. two wicked, cursed nations. Where'd it come from? Drunken incest from Sodomites. These children were raised not to know what was right or wrong. They were raised with a father. Think about, here's my question, and I can't answer it 100% yes or no. Did he hate his family? Did he hate his family? I'll tell you, I love this Bible, and I wouldn't just throw it out the door. I wouldn't use it to prop something up. I love this thing, man. This is my favorite. Oh, you want to come in here and kill all of us and abuse these strangers? Take my children. Take these two innocent children and do whatever you want to them. Just leave us alone. That's wicked. That's sad. It breaks my heart. This is the fruit of a compromiser. This is the fruit of somebody that would stand in solidarity with the pride of a sodomite. We're going to stand with them. We're going to help them out. We're going to let them do whatever they want. We'll support them in business. Isn't that what Lot did? We'll help further the cause. It's good for business to put... This is a warning to Christians for today, how much God hates these wicked sins. They were walking in fornication, lasciviousness, adultery, the lust of uncleanness. That's what goes on behind the closed doors. You don't want to know it. These are unspeakable things. God warns us and He says, stay away from it. It's our job to rebuke these things. Hate the evil and love the good. If you know somebody, and listen, there are children today that watch Disney movies and they go to a public school and they're told, who knows what gender you might really be? Pick from 1,000 different titles. You might be one of them. You can change it if you want. We'll give you drugs to destroy your body and you can be somebody different. This trash is being pumped in their mind, and when you go out to preach the gospel and you knock on the door of somebody, if you find some teenager that has rainbow hair and a rainbow on their shirt and they say, well, I think I might be one of them. Don't be quick to call fire down from heaven. They're confused. They haven't heard the truth. If they'll listen, you preach the gospel to them. And like anybody else, if they say, I'm not interested, I don't care, I'm going to do what I want to do, you say, well, God loves you, He died for your sins, don't end up in hell.